Hello everyone, it's Obina Admiral Uka, and today I want to talk about the task we'll be doing, and the task is provisioning a loan on a storage and mapping that loan to a data store on a VMware ESXi host. So what we're going to be doing today is, after provisioning a loan on the storage, we're going to map that loan to the vCenter, and what we'll be using to map the loan to the vCenter is a device called the vPLEX. The vPLEX is a storage virtualization appliance that Dell uses to virtualize storage from end to end. So today, what you're going to be doing is to provision the storage, the loan from the storage, map the loan to the vPLEX, and map the exported loan on the vPLEX to the vCenter on the VMware environment. So let's take you to the course and see how it goes. Join me. Thank you. Okay, so let me start from where I stopped. So I was saying that on the VS Block 1000 we have the Power Store and the Power Max right now mapped to the 1000. So we can do this task on the Power Store, we can do this task on the Power Max. So let's do this on the Power Store. First of all, remember the task I mentioned is we're trying to provision a data store. So the first steps you have to do when provisioning a data store is to create a loan on the storage. Now, the data store on the vCenter is going to represent that loan that you have created on the storage. So now we are going to do the first step, which is creating the loan. Now I'm logging into the Power Store now. So now, before we proceed, I want to still point out something. So we all know we have a vPLEX in our environment. Yes, vPLEX is a Dell solution, a Dell appliance for virtualizing, storage volumes. So now, currently on the 1000, what we have on the Power Store and Power Max on the vPLEX are distributed storages. So it doesn't mean that it's only distributed storages you can provision on the vPLEX. You can provision local storage on the vPLEX too. So now this task I'm about to do is either ways, and I will need to take that permission from Bosti. So I'll give my recommendation and I'll seek your permission. You can map this the loan I'm about to create now directly to the host, or we can map it to the host through the vPLEX. So I don't know which one is best for you, but me, I would advise the vPLEX.
So the other ones, 1 to 5, are they mapped to the vPLEX or not?
Yeah, okay. Currently now, what we have on the vPLEX on the 1000 on that is distributed storages.
So let's do it exactly the same way we have those other 1 to 5.
Okay. So now, I'm carrying on. So the first step in this task, like I said, is to provision the loan. And now this is what I'm going to do. I'm on the Power Store right now. So you go to storage. Hope you're seeing my screen, everybody. So, yes, okay, you go to volumes. Now, from this place, you're seeing the volume because I have a naming convention already provided by Bosti. So that's the name I'm going to use to provision this particular loan. So we go to create. Now, give me 1 second. Let me copy and paste that loan name, sorry. So Bosti, this one we're creating is 6, right? Number 6.
Yes, 6. Yes, we have 1 to 5. So.
Okay. So I'll paste this here. So you can see here you see associated volume group. So now I'll click select. Now, before I select the volume group I want to put it on, I just want to explain what I'm trying to do. Now, the idea of this is you can see we have different volume groups here. We have VPLEX distributed volume group, site-specific VG, distributed VG, AMP VG, and NXX cluster VG. So the idea of volume group is just like you have a folder. So in case you need to do something, you can go to your folder, the particular folder you want to work on, and work on any file on that folder. That's how volume group works. So now you create a volume group and you move volumes. It doesn't mean that the volumes can't stand on their own, but we put them in the volume group. So for reference purposes, in case you need to extend, you have any tasks you need to do on that volume, you can know the particular volume group you're going to. Because on this storage now, you have distributed volumes, you have local volumes. So in as much as you have naming conventions for both of them, it still makes it easy for you to locate any volume you want to work on when you put them in the volume group. So now we are creating a local, we're trying to create a local data store. So I'm going to click on site-specific volume group, and I'll select. Now I've selected. Now you can see category. On this category, I'll just use order. Like I'm using order because it's not like order makes any difference. It's just like setting, when you categorize something, when you give something, when you're trying to create something, you want to map it to a particular category. Like I can use relational database, I can use any of these categories, depend on what I'm creating the data store for. But this data store is going to be a regular data store on the vCenter. So I'm going to use order because anything can utilize it, you can use it for anything you want to do actually. So I'll use order application. I'll leave here empty, because I'm not provisioning specifically for any application. So now you can see the quantity. How many you can say 2, 3, and all, but now we're just provisioning one LUN. So I'll leave the quantity as 1. Now the size, I'm going to change the size to terabyte, because what you're trying to provision here is a 20 terabyte data store. So after this, you go next. Okay, it's saying a volume with this name already exists on this cluster. Then I have to change the name. But still, I have to change the name. Either changing the name or changing the cluster, but I'll have to change the name. What is it?
Please check.
Okay.
Check on vCenter because it's not mapped.
Okay, let me check on vCenter. Okay, it exists. We have up to 8 here on the vCenter. So we can change the name to 9.
Yes, change it to 9.
Okay. So I'm going to use 9 here. Everything still remains the same. So next. Now, on this part now, this is what this phase is for host mapping. When I say host mapping, you can see under where I'm scrolling now, you can see all the hosts on the DSBlock 1000 production site. But now I want to move these through the vPLEX. I can just go ahead to map it to what's called to each of the hosts, but I want to go through the vPLEX. So now I'll select the vPLEX. I remember what I said before we started this section. I said you can either map this volume directly to the host or you map it through the vPLEX. Now in this situation, the vPLEX is is standing as a host. That's why I'm mapping it to the vPLEX. So we are mapping to the vPLEX. I've selected the vPLEX. Now on this side, you can see the logical unit number is used to help the host and environment and all that. So now there are two different things you can select here. Either the computer generates a LUN ID automatically, or you select a LUN ID automatically. And now let me explain what I mean by LUN ID. Every host, let's say every host attached to a storage have an ID of every device is attached to. So let's say you have a host attached to, I'm giving you an instance, attached to like 10 different data stores. All on the host, these 10 data stores has an ID that the host used to recognize these data stores. And that's what this is talking about. So you can either put an ID, choose an ID number for yourself, or the system will automatically generate an ID for yourself, for itself. So at this point, what may I do? You can do it differently if it's, but what may I do? I allow the system to generate an automatic ID for itself, because I wouldn't know the available ID numbers on the vPLEX right now. So the host can actually generate his ID number for this particular LUN. So on that part, I'll leave here. I won't select anything here. I'll leave it as it is, and I'll go to the next phase. So now you can see it's showing you what you're trying to provision: 10 terabytes, power store, cluster 1, HQ site, and all the details you've input in the previous stages is showing you here. Then now you clicked on create. On the side, you can see create volumes. You can see completed. So you can actually search for that volume you just created to be sure it's there. So now you can see 20 terabytes. This is the volume we just created. So you can see host mapping here. If I click on host mapping, you can see is the vPLEX is mapped to. So now on the part of this of the power store, we've done the first stage on creating the LUN on the power store. I don't know if you're following. So now I just want to reiterate what we did. We created the volume. After creating the volume, we put the volume to a group, you understand, a volume group. Like I said, the idea of us putting the volume in the volume group doesn't mean that the volume cannot stand alone. It can stand alone. But the idea is, for in case of reference purpose, you want to do something on that volume, you can know where to actually, locate it. That's the idea of putting it into a volume group. Then after that, we selected the amount of volume we want to create, 20 terabytes and all, and we mapped the volume we just created to a host. Now, this is the first stage. And remember I said you can map it directly to your ESXi host, or you can map it through the vPLEX. But this time around, we are exporting this volume to the vPLEX. So it's through the vPLEX we'll map to the ESXi host. Now we finished the first phase of creating the volume on the power store. Now the next stage now is for us to go to the vPLEX. So now I'm on the vPLEX right now. Taiwo, you're following, right?
Yes, I'm with you.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm with you.
Okay. So I'm on the vPLEX now. So that volume I just created on the power store, I'm going to look for that volume on the vPLEX.
Okay.
Yes. One second. Okay. Now, do you know, can you see, let me put the dashboard. I want you to just notice something in this dashboard right now. Okay. Now, you can see, this is the vPLEX right now. You can see cluster 1, cluster 2. Cluster 1 stands for the production site, while cluster 2 is representing the DL site. Now, on arrays, arrays means the backing device. That's the storage the vPLEX is talking to. We have two on both sides, like I mentioned before, PowerStore and PowerMax. But on the on the production side, you can see that it's showing degraded. I don't know if you can see what I'm saying. It's showing one array is degraded, and the array that is degraded here is the PowerStore. And why is it showing degraded? Why is it because I have I've exported a volume to a PowerStore volume to the vPLEX. Now that volume is not claimed. I'll show you the process of claiming that volume. Now the vPLEX has not claimed that volume, and that's why you're seeing the degraded sign. When we claim that volume, this degraded sign will go. Now the volume we are trying to claim, let me reiterate, is the volume that we just provisioned on the PowerStore, the 20 terabytes of LUN. So now we are going to claim that volume from the vPLEX. Now let's go to the phase of claiming the volume. You can click on arrays. Now you can see claim storage here, but first of all, you come to storage volumes. Now, I don't know if you can see what I just highlighted. You can see unclaimed there, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So now, this volume that is showing unclaimed here, we want to claim it. So now, what do we do to claim it? I've highlighted it, I've selected it. So you go to more. Yeah, no, forget about the other one. What we just provisioned now is 20 terabytes. Can you see it? Hello, can you see it?
Yes, I can see.
Yeah, okay. So now I go to more. I've highlighted it now. First of all, I go to more. I will click on claim all supporting array. Then next. Now this is the array name. Next, you're not doing anything here because you're just trying to claim a storage. You understand? So nothing much to doing here. So now this is the volume you're trying to create. Look at it on this side. I'm highlighting it. So basically, you're not doing anything here because just like a click step phase. So nothing much you're doing here. So now this is the part where we need to name what we are claiming. So now remember the LUN on that other side is HQ Datastore local 009. Now the idea is that putting a different name here doesn't change anything. It won't affect the connectivity and the way they communicate. But the idea of putting a same exact name here is for reference purposes because you're doing due diligence. So in case there's anything to be done on this particular LUN, you can know where it's coming from and where it's going to. That's why the naming convention is like this. So I'm going to name it exactly the same way it appears on the PowerStore. So this is 9. I can just put, just so we know that it's coming from the PowerStore. I can just PWST. Why I put that is just for us to know that it's coming from the PowerStore. Then I click on finish. So what we just did now is to claim the storage. Now we can now look for that storage we just claimed. Okay, look at it here, self. There's no need going far. This is it here. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So now we go to the next place we go to is extents. Now, extents is like the part we just like the same thing we did on the PowerStore where we provisioned a LUN. Now the extent is provisioning a vPLEX volume from the exported volume that we just exported from the PowerStore. So now, if there is no volume available on the vPLEX, if there is no volume exported to the vPLEX that are available, you cannot create an extent. So for you to create an extent, there should be a volume that you have already claimed that is existing on the vPLEX for you before you can go ahead and create an extent. So what do? we look for one second. I'm trying to look for. So now we are creating an extent. Now this is the extent we want to create. Now listen, we are creating an extent. What I just selected now is what? This is the volume we just provisioned on the power store. I keep reiterating this so you don't forget. Now that we just claimed on the vPLEX. So this extent I'm creating now, I'm creating it from this particular LUN that we exported from the power store. So I move it, I click on next and finish. I can now close this. Now this is the extent we've created. Now what next for you to do is to go to devices. Now on the devices, you create a device from an extent. You can see the steps. You create an extent from an exported volume from the power store. Now the device, you create a device from an extent. Now it's still the same procedure, but it's just the steps that you will need to take.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Yeah, can you hear me?
A device after we extend.
No, I didn't say extend. I said, if you're following, I said, remember we provisioned a LUN on power store, a volume on the power store of 20 terabytes.
Yes.
Now that volume we created on the power store, we exported that volume to the vPLEX. You know that you follow that part. Now
the vPLEX
now on the on the vPLEX now, that volume you've exported, you claim it.
Okay.
Do you understand? We claimed that volume on the vPLEX. After claiming the volume on the vPLEX, what we did next is to create an extent from that volume we claimed. I don't know if you're following.
Yes, I'm following.
Yeah, now we have the extent created. Now the next step is to create a device from that extent.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I'm about to do right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So now this is the extent. You do the same thing we did for when we are creating the extent. We are creating the device right now. So you can see the options automatically create a virtual volume on each device. By default is no. Yes. Why we are choosing no is that so it doesn't just create and name virtual volumes any way you like. So you'll be the one, doing that task. I will take you to that task because that's the final step of what we are doing here today. So now I'm using no. That's the default, and it should be like it's not like if you click on yes, it spoils anything. No, but no means that you are going to create that virtual volume yourself and specify what you want to specify. That's why we are using no. So next, this is the device, 0, finish. We close that interface. Now the final phase of this whole thing is to create a virtual volume. Now, we are creating a virtual volume from the device we just created. Are you following? This is the last phase. Now we are creating the virtual volume from the device we just built from the extent of that same amount of data, 20 terabytes. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So now we want to create an extent, a virtual volume. Now, this is what we do. Creating from devices. Now, this particular virtual volume has been created. Now, if I highlight the virtual volume, I'll go to view map. You will see what is showing. You can see the steps, the initial steps we take. This is the power store. This is the volume we created from the power store that we exported to the VPLEX. This is the extent we created from the exported volume. This is the device we created from we created from the extent, and now this is the what's it called? This is the virtual volume we created from the device. Now you can see what is showing here, unexported. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes, I can.
Okay, now, so now it's unexported. Now, what's the task? You need to export this particular virtual volume. Now, exporting this particular virtual volume is just like the same thing we did in the Power Store, where we mapped the volume we created to a particular host, which is the VPLEX in this our case. So now this time around, we are exporting this particular virtual volume and we are mapping it to a host that's already mapped to the VPLEX. Same thing we did remember in the storage side, the VPLEX was the host, but in this situation now, the VPLEX is the storage, and now we're mapping the storage to the host. This time around, the ESXi is the host. Are you following?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Okay, I said what we did in the Power Store. What we did in the Power Store after provisioning the volume, we mapped it to a host, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, now the host we mapped it to was the VPLEX. Remember?
Yes, yes.
Now, the same thing we did in the Power Store, that's what we're doing here. But the difference is that in this case, the VPLEX is not a host. The VPLEX is the storage this time around. While the ESXi host, your ESXi host is your vCenter. That is the host right now. So we're going to export this particular volume and map it to your ESXi host. Do you understand?
Okay.
Yeah. So now, you highlight, like I highlighted the particular virtual volume you want to work on. I click on modify. You can see export selected virtual volumes. You click on it. You wait. Now, yeah, this is it. Now, you can now, okay, you can choose any cluster you want to put. Now, all these clusters you're seeing here are the clusters on your vCenter. On the 1000, you can see cluster 1, cluster 2, DB cluster, FAP, Tanzu, and the rest of them. You get. So now, you can choose the cluster you want to put this, you want to map this, what's called, this volume to. So now, let's say I want to map it to cluster 1. Are you following?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now, this cluster 1 I'm selecting now is cluster 1 on my production site on the vCenter. Now, this you can see PIMAs, all these are all volumes that are mapped to cluster 1 in the vCenter. So now this is the one we're trying to map right now. Do you get? So now I will just click OK at this point. And now you can see successfully added to this cluster. So when I close this, now if I click on this and view the map again, you will now understand what I mean. Now, it was showing unexported before, but now you can see running. And you can see the cluster, HQ cluster 1. This cluster represents cluster 1 on your vCenter. Are you following?
yes, please.
Yeah. So now, we have finished the part of provisioning storage from the Power Store, exporting to the VPLEX and exporting to your ESXi. Now we now go to the your vCenter and to that cluster 1 on your vCenter, and attach and create a data store using this LUN we just created. Now this is cluster 1. You see? So I'll go to actions, I'll go to storage, I'll go to new data store. So it's a VM file system. So it's VMFS you are going to choose. So we go next. Now we select a host in this cluster. Since it's local to it's local to production, the data store can only be seen by production hosts. Are you following? So I'll just choose ESXi 03. Now, can you see what I'm seeing on my screen?
Obina,
Yes,
Yeah.
I can.
can you run me through this process again? Because my network tripped up, so I could not hear you.
Okay, this vCenter process.
Just this one of it. Yes, please.
Okay, let me cancel and start again. I say now this is cluster one. Remember we mapped that LUN we created to cluster one from the vPLEX. Remember?
Yes.
So now this is cluster one in your vCenter. This is 1000. So I click on cluster one, I go to actions, I go to storage, and you can see new data store, right? So I click on it. Now the data store type you're trying to create is a VMFS, VM file system. You know that it's not a network file system because that's not what we're using. We're using VMFS. So you click on VMFS. I even specifies it here for you. Create a VMFS data on a disk LUN. Why? You know, NFS and VMFS are different. VMFS is SAN, which is what we're using. NFS is the network added storage. So that's not what we're using in this case. So that's why I'm choosing a VMFS, just so you understand. So I click on next. Now, the data store name. Are you following?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm with you.
So now, the same naming convention, remember?
Yes.
Yeah. So I put zeros because I just wanted to follow just the same way it is on the same way it is on the volume we just created. So now I'm choosing 009, but here I'm going to put do you understand why I'm putting this power store? Just so
Yes,
you understand where the data store is coming from. So now select a host in that cluster. Remember, it's the local data store we just created, and so only host in the HQ, that's production site, can see it. So I'm going to choose host 3, which is a host in the HQ. So it's loading. So now you can see on this part, you can see LUN capacity, hardware, and all that. Now see, I'm expanding this. This is 20 terabytes. And this is what we just created, provision, that we're trying to map. Are you seeing?
Yes.
But now I hope you can see there are 2 of them here. We're not working with this because that's not what we provision. This is what we provision, 20 terabytes. And this is the LUN ID, 22. Now we're going to click on this, select this particular one because that's what we are working with. So when we select it, we go to next. Now the VMFS, we're trying to create the VMFS 6, which is the most recent one, and what this 1000 is using. Now we go to next. Now use all available partitions. What we are trying to tell it at this point is that it should you should create a data store with all the 20 terabytes of space that we have. You can create a 10 terabyte of data store from this, but that's not best practice. You provision a LUN, it's best practice for you your data store should carry everything that you've provisioned from the LUN. So that's why we are saying use all available partitions. So we go next. Now you're seeing this is like a rundown of what's your configuration, what you just configured. Are you seeing this?
Yes.
So now the final task is to finish. And now you wait and monitor on your task while this creates. You can see the task here. It's running. I can still monitor it from here. So I think the task has completed. So now let's look for that data store. This is it. You can see. Can you see?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the 20 terabyte of data store. It's empty, no VM in it because it's not in use at the moment. You feel me? So that's what's up. So now remember, we put that data store on what cluster? Cluster 1. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah. So now, sorry, the hosts. And this was the data. This is the host we mapped that data store to. So now let's just verify that the host can see that data store. Now we check data stores and scroll down. You can just put PWSD here. Now this is our data store here. But now remember, it's not only this host that's on that cluster. There are other hosts on that cluster in the HQ. So we have to confirm that those hosts can still see this data store. So we go back to where we came from. Now we just tried host 3. Let's check host 4. You can see this can still see it. Are you seeing it?
Yes.
Yeah. So likewise, this too will still see it. So far, you are in the HQ. You can see this. This will still see it. This will still see it too. Still see it.